Welcome to my channel. In this video I will talk about a list of issues and solutions. It's like a batch 1. In case if you like this video, I can create batch 2, batch 3 to cover, I will not say cover 100 of issues, but at least 90% or 80% of the known issues, unknown issues, and so on. Batch 1, batch 2, batch 3 means it covers modules. So in this batch I will talk about some of issues related to EB and GL. Maybe next batch I will continue EB also and GL. Third batch will be, for example, tax and receivables, and for example cash management, and so on. It's like issues and solutions. So let's start. First of thing, that there is one issues, for example, affected by invoice or payment. For example, that you received during make a create accounting date GL is not an open or futures, or during make journal import error the date is not in open or future period. It's like a common or unknown issues that in this case you have to check the GL period is closed or not, because subledger accounting uses GL period status tables data for GL, not EB, because this is SLA. SLA means interface tables or interface between subledgers modules and GL. So in this case you have to check the GL periods, and also EB period status are used for invoice validations and the payment creation. Payables and GL periods can be closed independently of each other. Create accounting process will return this error when corresponding GL period is closed before EB subledger accounting is created. During for journal import error, again you have to check payable and GL period can be closed, and also in this case GL period is closed after subledger or EB GL subledger AR accounting is created, but before it is transferred and imported in GL. As you know that during create transactions, either create accounting, transfer to GL, import in GL, the periods which is related to this event or to these transactions must be in open to allow you to import and post and transfer and create account. Another one for invoice, that accounting dates out of sync, that invoice header accounting date or lines accounting distribution account date are not the same. As you know, for EB invoice we have header, we have distributions, we have lines, so the dates must be the same, at least in invoice lines and the distributions, because in some of cases you make invoice with invoice date, for example in February, but the accounting date of this invoice in a different period. This is it's okay, no problem for this, but for the invoice line and the distributions which is related to us, so it must be or it's related to each other, it must be the same. So in case of you face like these issues, then as you see here, invoice header accounting date default from manage invoice options accounting date basis, which is provide the default basis of determining accounting date. Invoice header accounting date default to line also accounting date when new lines are created. Invoice lines accounting dates default to new distribution. So the invoice header default to lines default to distributions. So it's related to us as a serial or as a sequence. Changing invoice header accounting date after line and the distributions are created will not update accounting date on existing line and the distribution. So changing also the invoice lines accounting date after distribution are created again will not update what the next level, which is dates on distributions. So the accounting transactions and the sweep reports only update the lines, and the distribution accounting date, invoice header accounting date is not updated. So in this case you can run accounting sweep report. As you know, sweep report will move or will transfer all unaccounted transactions to the next first open period. If you cannot update or whatever for some reasons, so you can sweep this transaction to the next period. So next period, the dates online and distribution will be the same, and at that time your issue will be resolved. What next? Payment accounting date out of sync. That payment accounting date and the check date are not the same. As you know, also the unaccounted transaction and the sweep report only update the accounting date for payment, also for line and distribution for the invoice. If the payment originally had the check date the same as the accounting date, running an accounting transaction sweep report would update the accounting date only, not payment date, because an accounting transaction sweep report working on accounting date, which is a GL date, which is because during run credit accounting you have the option to transfer also. So once the system finish accounting, the sub process will be transferred to GL. So transfer to GL is related to accounting date only. Here we have issue that we have issues that approval for autopost journals, checkbox for use a patch creator as approval submitter doesn't seem to be affecting our journal approval workflow. Can this be checked? User didn't have manager assigned, and in order to autopost to pick correctly, user for the option use batch creator as submitter need to have what? A manager assigned. So the manager setup is mandatory even if not using supervisory hierarchy to approve the journals. Another issues and B and C. Do we have budget control for miscellaneous issue transactions in receiving or supply chain, or is it possible to have budget checking for movement? Miscellaneous and the movement, as you see here, budget control feature is not available as a part of miscellaneous transactions, and also inventory doesn't support feature to provide an error insufficient fund whenever transaction is created using GL account that has low fund of budget. There is no features to enable budget control on movement request transactions and also miscellaneous transactions. What next? Issue faced. Customer is not able to tally generated income statement journal for entity for example 104xxx with trial balance total USD amount. Expected result what? That the trial balance output and the income statement result should be matched, right? Actual result, there is a variance in the amount in trial balance and the income statement. This is the issues here is customer was running income statement job with income offset account with option of net closing balance was checked on specified ledger options. Both options don't work together, so when using one other should be unchecked. As you know that during running income statement journal creation from scheduled process, there is some options for net closing balance and also income statement offsets. These two options is not working together, so either select this and uncheck this or vice versa to make a match or to get the tally match between income statement and the trial balance outputs. When attempting to pay a party from another country using foreign currency, you facing like these issues. Payee bank account is set up to allow domestic payment only, but the disbursement bank account used for the payment is in a different country. As you know that there are during set up the bank, there is one options to allow domestic payment to allow foreign currency. So how can one-time payment used to pay these parties in a different country? So this error or these issues during using OTP. OTP means this supplier as a one-time supplier creation. So how to allow this during create one-time payment? One-time payment creates bank account without the allow international payment flag when certain information is not provided. In order to have allow international payment flag enabled for the account, populate either bank account name, bank number, and the bank branch name, bank branch number, or PIC in the payable payment request import template. After import of the invoice payment request, the foreign payment use flag, or which is allow international payments, will be updated as yes in the IBY external bank accounts table, which corresponding to this setting. So it's like setting to allow this, to allow you to make a one-time payment foreign currency for this feature for these parties. What next? When trying to query invoice in payment workbench, invoice is not found. There are a lot of issues or a lot of reasons. Schedule or steps to reproduce. Navigate to payment workbench, create a payment, try to add invoice, list of invoice, of values of invoice, returns no record of invoice. There are a lot of issues. First of thing, you have to check, for example, the payment method. At payment must equal the payment method at invoice. You have to check the invoice status is approved, is created accounting, is validated. You know what else? Bank account currency and the payment currency are not the same. Multi-currency option must be at the bank account level in order for this to work. So when payment bank account currency is ledger currency, then you have any option to do payment in foreign currency. When you enable multi-currency options at the bank account level, bank account currency is foreign currency, for example other than ledger currency, then you can do the payment for invoice having the payment currency same as the bank account currency. For example, if you want to do payment in euro, either of the two options will work. Bank account with ledger currency and enable multiple currency will allow you to do payment, or cancel the invoice, enter a new invoice with payment currency euro and pay with euro currency bank account. The other reasons, as I told you, it must be validated, accounted, approved. Payment currency, payment method must be the same. Also, check fund is pathed. Also maybe it's already paid before, either through payment or either through PPR and stock or whatever, or through apply prepayment. So a lot of reasons for these issues, that list of value of invoices returns no record values. What next? Is it possible to apply an invoice type prepayment to one that is standard when it's from different suppliers? What is the case here? Invoice type prepayment is created for provider A, validated, accounted, paid account. Standard invoice type is created under provider B, accounted, validated. How can you apply this to provider A? So you make two invoices, one prepayment for provider A, standard for B. Is it possible? If prepayment created for supplier provider A, then the same provider or supplier should be used to apply standard invoice. You cannot have a prepayment for provider A and apply the prepayment having standard with provider B, since original supplier balance was booked with E. This is a standard practice across industry, and this also leads to audit exceptions and accounting issues at GL level when you compare liability versus prepayment booked for a different provider. I don't know if this related to this also maybe work or not, but it's better if prepayment provider A, standard invoice must be also for the same suppliers to lead us audit correctly without any exceptions for the accounting in GL. What else? Invoice tax calculation error. Currency conversion rate doesn't exist for this currency. Conversion rate is not defined for the tax information conversion rate type. through tax information. There is one conversion rate type is used by the tax engine to calculate tax invoice header level. Conversion rate is used for just invoice transaction amount conversion. During setup of the tax, there is one also conversion rate type. In case of if you remember tax setup, there is one options for what is the conversion rate we'll be using for this tax. So you have to assign the tax rate there. So during that, create accounting or validate. The system will also create accounting for the tax if this invoice in a foreign currency or in a currency different than ledger currency. Also, the conversion rate must be assigned to the tax information. Just go to tax information. Conversion rate type is used. If you want to tax calculate to use foreign currency, you just navigate to manage tax, search for tax information column, conversion rate type, and if there is a value, please null this out to use the conversion rate entered on the transaction for all conversions. What does it mean? There are three options will be pop up in this tax rate conversion: add tax information or manage tax, corporate, spot, and I think user. The other option or the fourth option is null. So in case of you keep this null, add tax, manage tax for tax conversion rate, so it will use the conversion rate entered on the transaction level. In this case, add the AB invoice level, so the tax engine will use the same conversion rate type you entered at AB invoice. But in case of you select a spot, so the conversion rate at invoice must be spot. If you select corporate, the corporate must be conversion rate type at invoice. So it's better to keep it null, so whatever the system will check the conversion rate at invoice or AR invoice or whatever, it will use the same to create accounting for the tax engine. What else? Users are not getting approval notifications in email for only GL journal approval. In this case, UI notifications are working but not the email notifications. So you have to log in BPM, just go to administration, task configurations, select for find GL journal approval tasks, which notification is not generated. There is one notification tab, just click notification header under notification for assignee and make sure this value is null. It's like a notifications, it not means that your setup is not correct, it just mean like missing setup, or you have to make these values of the notification headers is null. What next? Fund check generates 2 batches per single AB invoice. Because of what? Why does the application not merge liability account when budgetary control is enabled for AB invoice? Recoverable tax. Don't forget recoverable tax. Lines are not budgetary controlled within subledgers, since these amounts will be eventually recovered and shouldn't be tracked against spending. If the fund reservation status is different for the distribution lines, so the journals will be created separately for each liability line. Again, it's not considered liability only, because maybe there are related lines which is related to recoverable tax. So in this case, recoverable tax is not budgetary controlled. So in this case, the system will create 2 batches. What next? How to change distribution accounts on the cancelled invoice. You have AB invoice cancelled and you need to change the distribution account. You have to set up profile options. Just you have to has administration rule, and just navigate setup maintenance, search for manage profile options. Add profile options with these AP enable cancel list. Profile display name will be distributions override for cancel invoice. Allow to enter distribution account for unaccounted. For descriptions, application will be payables and payables as a module. Start date, it's up to you. And enable profile option at user level by checking enable and updatable checkbox. Navigate to manage payable profile options, query for the profile option code AB enable cancel distributions. Under section AB profile values, click add and users, which this profile option will be enabled for specific users. Put profile values yes for enabling these profile options. So what is summarized here? It's like profile options. You create profile options and assign this profile option to specific users. So only these users who is assigned to these profile options will have the option to change the distributions on the cancelled invoice. Created enabled new login by these users who has this profile option enabled, and try to edit the distribution account in managing distributions. But here there is some. This profile option is only valid for the following scenarios or the following conditions. Invoice is cancelled and distribution is not accounted, original distribution, not a BO matched distribution, not be reserved, not coming from other product like AR refund, expense report, EGIS invoicing, any other legacy systems, not distribution for system created like what prepayment application, withholding, IBV, invoice price variance, ERV, TIBV, whatever. It's not created related to accrual and variance, which is system created by itself. In this case, you can update the distribution account on cancelled invoice. What else? Missing currency conversion information on transaction error occurred while doing fund check. You have to check whether currency conversion rate for the particular budget date is defined in system or not. If not, then define conversion rate or correct budget date in which rates are already available. Also, there is one issue that which is related to budget. For example, you make AB invoice which is under control budget. Sorry. So once you define conversion rate like a user, for example, you try to make a create accounting and validate, you found issues that missing conversion rate for the budgetary control. In this case, you have to navigate to the GL and define a corporate rates to reflect to budget. So in this case, your issues will be resolved. Once you define this corporate conversion rate in GL, again come back to the AB invoice, make another revalidate, and try again to create accounting. Another issue is not able to assign balancing values. You must specify journal description language since there is a subledger accounting method already assigned to the ledger. Enable to assign legal entity to ledger but not access retained earning account is mandatory, and I am not able to select entity field as no balancing segment assigned to this legal entity. You are not able to select any value for retained earning account because you don't have defined an GL account combination in the system. You have to create needed account combination, retest the issues. Also, for retained earning account, you have to ensure all segment values are child values and do not post table. The values for natural account segment must be an account type of owner's equities. This is during you assign balance segment value for retained earning. You have to ensure all of this. What next? When attempting to assign legal entity to ledger, you following like this journal descriptions. User had not specified journal language. This is mandatory value that needs to be specified while creating ledger. Solutions: just navigate the specify ledger option, select your ledger as a scope, specify ledger journal language in subledger accounting sections, because this is mandatory value. What else? How to set up Infusion application to check the budget before sending journal for approval. You can perform fund check before sending a journal approval by using below UI at the user interface applications. Just open journal, patch, check fund. There is no other setup exists to check fund before sending for approval when user submit journal for posting. So you have to wait. As you know, once you create a journal, you can create what? You can check a post. Once you post, the system at the same time check fund. If you need to make a check fund as a separate or before sending journal for approval, you have to do like this. Issue B, enable to create BO matched credit memo with correct unmatched invoice options. As you know, in AB invoice there is one correct options. One of them is correct unmatched invoice options. In this case, the user need to create BO matched credit memo with correct unmatched invoice. You are trying to pick correct unmatched invoice for BO matched invoice. You have to know that you will not able to correct unmatched invoice against a matched BO invoice. There is no quantity amount corrections the system can do against these different invoices, as one is matched to BO. And you plan to correct against unmatched invoice, it has to be a matched invoice. If you plan to correct unmatched invoice options, then you should not be entering BO number, because it means unmatched, but you select matched, so it will not work. How to resolve combination is not valid error when matching invoice to receipts. You have to check the following: verify supplier side liability account is valid, check liability account set in manage common options for payables and procurement, check BO distribution account are valid and enabled in GL task manage account combination, verify the account is enabled and not end dated, check inventory item is enabled. How to resolve error AB_NVBO finally close that when attempted to cancel the invoice which is matched to a finally closed purchase order. The functionality you are seeing as intended by finally closing the BO indicates that there is no further obligation on the BO. Therefore, you cannot take any further actions on the invoices matched to this BO which is finally closed. What next? Enable to search BO while matching to AB invoice. First of thing, you have to verify the following, which while searching for the BO during match invoice lines, ensure that exclude closed schedules checkbox is not checked. Verify if BO status is finally closed, BO buyer is terminated, inactive. Use reassign purchasing document to reassign the BO to an active buyer, then perform the matching. Also, there are a lot of reasons. Check the supplier, check the BO currency, check the matching option, is it BO or receipts, check the status of the BO, cancelled, finally closed, fully received, fully invoiced, whatever. So you have to check or investigate from the start of the cycles. Check the receipts, check the authorities, check the BO, check the PR, check the agreement, check the status, check the receipts, check how many invoiced, is it fully invoiced or not. After that, go to AB, check if there are any previous or any invoices already have been created related to this BO, and so on. What next? How to override expense account when BO matched to invoice before validating. Payable setup, manage invoice options. There is one allow matching account override. These options will allow override of the account for an invoice distribution created from matching to BO. You can override the account for a matching invoice distribution in distribution window of the invoice workbench. Again, you cannot override the account for match invoice distribution if you use encumbrance account or perpetual receipt accrual. Other than that, you can update the distribution account, but you have to enable and notify this. What else? When attempting to open GL period, the following error in space data upload, unpublished dimension member, which is related error to a space cube. A space cube is like a transaction table dimensions, which is whatever any transaction you posted in GL will be reflected immediately in SS space cube. The issues can be reproduced as when you try to open accounting period. Business impact. These issues has the following business impact. Due to these issues, user cannot open accounting period to allow them to enter the journals and the transactions. Cause new currency may be created and the process create currency dimension member was not run. you have to run process under name create currency dimension members. This is creating and updating currency dimension members for balances cubes. One of the reasons, maybe you define a new currency and this currency you didn't run the process of create currency dimension member. Just create this process for this new currency and try again to open the accounting period. What else? Journal check fund errors at transaction account doesn't roll up to budget account. Transaction account doesn't roll up to the budget account. The issues can be reproduced. 1. Control budget having a tree with transaction value not in tree field as failed. Create journal by using this account which is not present in budget control tree. Does or do fund check. The issue is caused because a value isn't in a tree versions. Transaction value is not in a tree version will determine what happened when a value is not in the tree version. When a value is not in a tree version, this doesn't mean that it won't be budgetary controlled. If a segment value on the transaction is not in the tree version or is in the tree version but not rolling up correctly to the label assigned to the tree details region of the control budget, it will what? Fail regardless of any sub-element rules defined. If you have the transaction value not in tree field set to fail, will be budgetary control using transaction value not in tree default value. If a default value is specified but this option may not meet the needs, in this case for example if there is an asset or expense not in a tree, it will be budgetary controlled with this default segment value and not the assets or expense value on the transactions. What next? Budget analysis. Budget analyst, this is a rules or this is a employee or whatever, can run various reports such as budget control budget analysis reports, budget control value exceptions analysis reports for the control budget to which they are assigned the taxes. New budget analysis or existing budget analysis from the period release cannot select their control budget when they run those or these reports. So you have to set up first of all you have to adding data security policy. Just for the budget analyst you have to select edit and just proceed data security policy, select create data new policy, just custom for the data. For database resource just select control budget. For the condition name select data select by instance as you see here, and you have to review budget control. For the control budget as the control has created, as you see here as access budget control for this budget for the control budget that the current user has created. After that, for the actions you have to select review budget control balance, review these actions under this review and read, continue to summary impact report and select save and close. Assign control to budget analysis user through manage control budget data access set. On manage data access set you have to select users and assign this create icon to create budget control data access set by the assigning what. For actions, just as you see here user budget and security context and security context. This is the data access set for these users. After that he can log out and log in to review the budget control balance and review control budget, and he can only read without any delete, update or whatever. Before of that just I need to navigate to Oracle. There is also another options here or another issues. During creation of the budget controls maybe you define a supplemental rule. For these supplemental rules maybe you need is reflected in AB but not reflecting in GL. So in this case you have to check that this your supplemental rule is defined at business unit or not. In case of you define supplemental rule at business unit, so this supplemental rule will reflecting on EBAR only. But when you make a GL journal which is related to these conditions in GL, it will not reflected. Because of what? Because you, by mistake, you assigned here business unit. Once you assigned here business unit, it means you tell the systems that this supplemental rule will only working with all subledgers. It will not work in GL. So you have to do what? You just come to here, change the status of the budget, prepare for change, remove the business unit from here, save and close, and again change the status to prepare for use. Thanks for watching. This is the first batch. In case of you like, just tell me so I can create batch 2, batch 3, batch 4 until I cover at least 90% of all known unknown issues. Thanks for watching. Good luck.